Kelechi Chidi-Ihuoma, Senior Research Analyst, Meristem Securities, is joining me right now via Zoom. Hello, Kelechi, and welcome to the program.
Hello, Nancy. Thank you for having me.
Hi, Kelechi. You know, it's a mixed bag of feelings for me. Okay, it's not even a mixed bag, it's sad feelings this morning, you know, because just like I said before you came in, we are living through a cost of living crisis right now. No fuel, no power, inflation is up there. Your Naira is buying less items, that is if you see the Naira. But first of all, before we go into the cost of living crisis and perhaps what Nigerians need to be doing right now with the less Naira they have in their pockets, unpack the February inflation data for those listening. For Nigerians, unpack it for us. 15.7% inflation rates for February.
Okay, thank you. So, I mean, coming from last year where we saw inflation moderating, it was kind of like a good news, you know, given that prices are not rising as fast as they used to. But then coming into this year, we're seeing prices rise. You know, in January, we saw it at 15.60%, and now we have it at 15.70%. And we will see it coming from the core index side. So we are seeing the core index, you know, drive inflation in February, and that is due to the higher prices of liquid fuel. At the same time, gas prices are going high, and it's not good news to hear that Nigeria's crude oil productions are also declining, and we are seeing that more of our importation, crude oil importation, I mean, we're importing more refined fuel now, and we know what oil prices are doing. They are now above $100 per barrel, and we've not seen $100 per barrel crude oil price since 2014. So it's a lot of pressure right now for Nigerians, especially the fact that we are still importing a refined petroleum product. So on the food index side, though we saw some moderation in the food inflation, but then we still have some we're still experiencing some challenges, especially in terms of insecurity issues. We're seeing I mean, post-harvest seasons are not really doing well for us at this point because we are still battling insecurity issues, and with fuel prices also going up, it also means that logistic cost is also rising. So the transport cost that we you know, traders will have to incur from taking this produce from the agricultural regions, you know, down to the rest of Nigeria would also impact, you know, what consumers will buy this product at the end of the day. So it's not a good news, but then we still have to keep going.
We still have to keep going. We still have to have hope. In lieu of that, what is your outlook for, what's your short-term outlook for inflation for March, for April, especially as regarding that the fuel crisis is still on. There's still fuel queues. Transport costs have gone up. We saw that fuel shortages pushed inflation data to the point it was in February. So what's your short-term inflation outlook?
Okay, so I mean, we thought coming into February, we thought that the post-harvest supplies were going to help curb the rise in inflation. But now, you know, at the end of February, we saw the fourth scarcity, the fourth scarcity hit us, and it was not something we're expecting. We were looking at inflation moderating, you know, through the years, maybe starting in April, but then due to the fourth scarcity, which has really, you know, struck us really bad, now we are seeing transport costs go up significantly. And the issue now is that, you know, when transport costs go up, it's really hard for it to come down again, even if things are normal, because PMS prices are still selling at about 168 naira per liter. I mean, that's the official rate. But then during the first scarcity, we saw these prices go up, you know, people selling at a premium, you know, to the normal price. Diesel prices have gone up now. That's like a deregulated market. So we are seeing diesel prices go up. So all this is going to impact logistics costs for traders. And definitely they're going to pass that cost to consumers. So for March and April, we would see inflation even go up really high, both from the core index and also from the food index.
Um, Kelechi, let me use the U.S. buzzword that we saw in recent past,
Okay.
the U.S. word transitory. And transitory, do you think that this inflation that we're seeing occasioned as a result of the fuel scarcity and perhaps power cost also going up, no subsidy there again, do you think that inflation, this higher inflation which we've seen, uh, will be transitory? What I mean will be temporary. Will we see this higher inflation within a
Well,
period of time, just like you said, perhaps March, April? At what time or what period would we see it being transitory? Then at what point do we see it moving from there downwards again? I hope you understand what I'm asking.
yes, yes, I understand, Nancy. So, like I said previously, last year we never saw the Russian-Ukraine crisis come up. I mean, I don't think anybody expected that. And while we were still trying to come out of the pandemic effect, then we're hit by the Russian-Ukraine crisis, which is really impacting the global economy. Last year, we saw the U.S. and Europe talk about inflation being transitory. Well, right now, U.S. inflation is about
7%.
7.9%, way, way, way above their benchmark, and they're even looking at hiking rates very soon. So there's like a, will I say, a ripple effect, of how that will impact us, because Nigeria is import dependent. So we're going to see like an imported inflation into our economy. At the same time, from the data, we are seeing that almost more than 20% of our refined petrol is imported. So at oil prices, it's not slowing down at any point, especially if this crisis, this Russia-Ukraine crisis lingers. So at this point, we cannot say it's transitory or temporary, because we've not even totally come out from that pandemic effect, and now we have this global crisis. So we might see this linger for a good part of the year.
Mm. It's not good news at all, because so Nigerians should actually brace up for, yes, for higher inflation occasioned by Russia-Ukraine crisis. We don't know when that would will cool down. Just like you also said, the pandemic effect is also still there. Just now that we're seeing some countries, lift restrictions. We also need to say that China, a key manufacturing city in China is Shenzhen or so, going also into lockdown as a result of higher COVID cases. And Nigeria is import dependent, so it will hit us so much. So we better brace up. Now, taking us to the cost of living, which I talked about earlier. Kelechi, how can we come out of this, really, as Nigerians? Because the ABC of all of this, the Turanchi that we're speaking, the grammar, the Oyibo, according to Igbo people, will be in the midst of all of this. How do I survive? The cost of living crisis. You're saying that, okay, just comment on that and I'll go over to the next thing.
Okay, I mean, I wish I had the answers too, because at this point, everybody is experiencing it. It doesn't matter what class you are, the rich, poor, the average, everybody is really, feeling it at some point. I mean, what can I advise? If inflation continues to rise, it means consumer purchasing power would decline, and cost of raw materials will definitely increase. And what will happen is that many of the producers will start to pass this cost to consumers. So it's a difficult point, that we are right now. But then, I mean, I feel like the solution would be to, I don't know, I think we have to be very wise and prudent at this point as Nigerians, now more than ever. We've seen, I mean, it's like a different situation. It's not the first time that we are having this really high inflation rate. But then it's just, trying to be prudent as much as possible.
My guest on the program yesterday, Dr. Fascio, said that Nigeria has been in a perpetual state of depression. that, you know, it seems that there's never a time that Nigerians heave a sigh of relief economically. Even when the economy was growing by 6-7%, it was still jobless growth. A lot of us were still really in extreme poverty. The question, I know you actually answered that you don't even know what to say, but are there tips right now, even if there are one or two, that can make Nigerians survive this inflation? Are there tips that can help one save money amidst the cost of living crisis? One will say, oh, Nancy, what are you even asking? You're asking me to save money that I don't have first. But I know why I'm asking that. Are there tips, money-saving tips for this cost of living crisis?
Well, I mean, at this point, I would advise that, like I said, be as prudent as possible. At the same time, you know, probably you might want to stock up at this point. I know, you know, there's that money shortage, but then it's a good idea if you want to stock up. You know, maybe some of the food items that you're getting, you know, you might want to, you know, buy in bulk these days because the way prices are going up really fast. Also, you can dive into some investment plans too. There are still some investments that people could go into, you know, that will increase the money that they have. So while we're seeing inflation rates, you know, go up, also we're seeing you know, investment, you know, offer some very good percentages. So that's another way one could, you know, try to cushion the effect of the high cost of living.
Thank you, Kelechi, for that. And let me also tell Nigerians why I asked that question, because you're seeing right now, realistically, practically, prices of everything keep climbing, except salaries for formal sector workers, which is not increasing. So you're seeing that transport costs increase, fuel costs have increased, diesel have increased, gas prices increase, no power, and all of that. Yet your your take-home pay is not taking you home, and it's constant. Minimum wage is still 30,000 naira for people or states that are paying for federal government. Private sector workers, employers are still paying. Many have not increased salaries because also inflation is affecting even their output, and that was why I asked that question for Nigerians right now, reeling from the effect of this cost of living crisis and inflation. Perhaps some of the tips, and I like what you said, stock up. But the question also would be, I don't have money, I'm stocking up. Perhaps you should come together as a group or a community and say, okay, we can buy a bag of rice. I guess that's what you mean, in case even people don't have money to do that individually.
Yes, yeah, that's also a very good idea. So, I mean, we need each other at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who already save money in groups. I think they call it ajo or something.
Yes.
So, we could also do that, you know, in terms of food items too, because definitely if like I said, the country is highly import dependent, and many of the countries that we import from are undergoing crisis. For example, in Russia, I think we import about 6% of our durum wheat from Russia and Ukraine. And you see what's happening in China right now. And is a major amount that's coming. We import a lot from China. So there's definitely going to be some kind of imported inflation. So at this point, it's best to stock up, you know, form groups, you know, stock up and yeah, that way, I mean, like I said, cushion the effect of the high cost of living.
Okay. Let me also add to it, track your spending at this point for people that are listening. Track your spending, make a budget at this point. Don't go over your budget. Number 3, what you should also do, separate your wants from your needs. Go really for your needs at this point in time. Number 4, try to eat from home or bring your food from home to the office or wherever you are, and try to cut down on your spending. I know some of the restaurants and fast food joints will be like, if they are listening now, they'll be like, Nancy, what are you saying? You don't want us to have businesses. But let us survive first. Everyone will say where it pinches him or her. Kelechi, do you agree with me on those, you know, some of those money-saving tips I've given, in addition to what you said?
I mean, I think they're very good tips. They're very, very good tips. But I think we can kind of treat ourselves a little bit while we be very prudent. I think we need to segment what our wants from our needs, like what you said. But don't be afraid to treat yourself once, at least
To
once a
spoil
month. I
yourself a
think that's
little
not bad.
sometimes.
Nancy, what do you think?
Yes, and I do that myself too, especially when I've worked really hard, or I want to reward myself for something I think that I really did well. And I said, Nancy, I'm going to reward myself, and I go all out and reward myself. Of course, you can do that. Okay, final question before we go. The MPC meeting will come up next week. Kelechi, what kind of MPC do you expect next week? Russia, Ukraine is a big elephant in the room, which will not be ignored. The pandemic effect still there. Food crisis has been, I think Aliko Dangote talked about we will face an imminent food crisis. How do you think that the monetary authority should handle this?
Well, I mean, going by what is happening around the world and what is happening in Nigeria, I see the committee actually still maintaining rate at 11.5%. I mean, the committee has made known its stance, its pro-growth stance, and he has most of the time attributed the rising inflation due to structural issues, and it's very little any adjustment on the MPR can do to curb inflation. So I see the MPC still maintaining rates at 11.5%, and I mean, because if they try to increase rates like what other advanced economies are looking at doing, it's only going to hurt GDP growth figures, and we've been doing well so far. We've already surpassed 2019 levels, and I think the MPC will be looking at keeping that momentum. So I see them maintaining rates and other parameters constant.
Thank you very much, Kelechi, for your thoughts and perspectives this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
I've been speaking with Kelechi Chidi-Ihuoma, who is a senior research analyst at Meristem Securities Limited. As we move along with the program, in line with the Central Bank of Nigeria's policy focus to stimulate domestic production and productivity, the Apex Bank says it will continue to introduce various policy measures in form of interventions to stimulate low-cost and sustainable financing to priority sectors and segments of the economy. The governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, revealed this while disbursing 23 billion naira to 28 firms under the 100 for 100 scheme in Abuja. And that's it from me today. I'll see you all again tomorrow, God willing. Try as much as possible to take some of those tips that were suggested earlier. Be the best you can be and be the change that you want to see. My name is Nancy.